Hi guys, in today's lesson we're going to practice converting between different forms of linear equations. So let's jump right into this. So this very top section, the directions say to solve each equation for y and state the slope and y-intercept. So you don't necessarily have to put it in slope-intercept form, but that's what we're going to do. So the first one, they've already got the solution there for you. But we're going to work these out on notebook paper. So in the app that I'm using, I have the capability to add a sheet of notebook paper. You may want to do this on actual real-life notebook paper, and then you can take pictures and submit it that way. Or you can try to go into the Notes app and get notebook paper that way and write directly on it. But you will absolutely need to show your work. And there is not enough room on this sheet in order for you to show your work, even if you zoom in. So I'm going to go to my next page where I've got my digital notebook paper. And I'm going to write down problem number 2. So it's 2x plus y equals 3. So let's write that down. 2x plus y equals 3. So we're going to start off by solving for y, which means we're putting it in slope-intercept form. And at this point, I'm not going to show every step. For example, we would start off by subtracting 2x on both sides, but instead of me writing minus 2x on both sides, I'm going to not write that step down because I'm going to run out of room, and it's going to take an extraordinary amount of paper. So I'm just going to go ahead, and we know if I subtract 2x on both sides, that's going to give me y equals 3 minus 2x. And let's put it in slope-intercept form. So that means I'm going to need to flip-flop the 3 and the 2x. When I do that flip-flopping, that minus sign travels with the 2x. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. So that's one part. And we are also supposed to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So the slope here is going to be negative 2. The y-intercept is positive 3. Okay, so that's number 2. Let's go to number 3, but before we do that, we do need to write that down next to the problem. So it was y equals negative 2x plus 3. I'm going to put the m was negative 2, and b, the y-intercept is 3. Okay, problem 3 is x plus 3y equals 9. So if I'm going to solve for y here, my very first step would be to subtract x on both sides. So 3y is equal to 9 minus x. Now the next step is you have to divide everything through by 3. That would leave me with y. Now when I divide everything through by 3, I'm going to have to divide the 9 by 3, and I'm going to have to divide the x by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And x divided by 3 is just going to be x over 3, or 1/3 x. And when I change that to the appropriate slope-intercept form, it becomes y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. So the slope is negative 1/3, and the y-intercept is positive 3. And then we're going to go back to the first page and write our answers down. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. And so I'm rewriting that down here. And then we'll try number 4. Now all of the problems in 1 through 20, all of these are equations that are written in standard form. So in this particular section, we're practicing converting from standard form to slope-intercept form. All right, so number 4, x plus 2y equals 8. Okay, so solving for y first, we would subtract x on both sides. So 2y equals 8 minus x. And now we need to divide everything through by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and that'd be minus 1/2 x. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. Now we're in slope-intercept form. The slope would be negative 1/2, the y-intercept positive 4. Okay, so let's go back and write that on the first page. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. Okay, let's do a couple more problems. So I'm on number 5, 4x minus y equals 1. Okay, subtract 4x on both sides. Now you're left with negative y. Oh, it looks like my stuff just stopped. So let me pause this video and get my screen back working. Okay, sorry about that. So now my screen is caught up. All right, so I'm left with negative y equals 1 minus 4x. That's the same as negative 1y. So one way to get rid of that, and I will write this step down, is I could just multiply the entire equation through by negative 1, which just changes the sign of everything. So that'd be y equals negative 1 plus 4x. And now when I flip-flop, that's y equals 4x minus 1, which means that my slope is 4 and my y-intercept is negative 1. Okay, let's write that down on the first page. And we'll do number 6 together. All right, 6 is 5x minus y equals 3. Okay, we'll start off by subtracting 5x on both sides. And just like in the previous problem, we're left with negative y. So we're going to multiply everything through by negative 1, which just changes the sign of everything. So we get y is equal to 5x minus 3. Our slope then is 5. Our y-intercept is negative 3. Okay, so let's go back and write that down. Okay, oops. Hold on, there we go. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to go through and you are going to complete problems 7 through 20 right now. So pause the video and do 7 through 20 on your own. All right, now that you've had a chance to do problems 7 through 20, you need to check over your work. So these are the final solutions for problems 7 through 20. However, you must have work shown for each of these problems. So I'm going to flip the page so that you can see the work that I did for these problems. So let me move this. And you really should be pausing your video here to check over your solutions. So here's 7 through 11. And then there's 12 through 20. Again, pause the video. Let me slide that up. Pause the video so that you have gotten all of this down and make sure your answers are correct. If you have questions, you need to write down, make a note of which problems you had questions about so that I can assist you. All right, so now we're going to go to this bottom section. And then in this bottom section, our directions are to write an equation in standard form this time, having the given slope and y-intercept. All right, so number 21 has already been done for us, so we're going to skip over to 22. So for 22, we know the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is negative 2. So I'm going to go to my page. Let's see. Let me do a new page. Okay, so number 22, and I forgot what it said my slope was, so let me go back real quick. 22, the slope is 2, y-intercept is -2. Okay, so your task is to write this equation in standard form. Standard form looks like this: ax plus by equals c. No fractions allowed, and a can't be negative. All right, but if you're given a slope and a y-intercept, you're not going to start off in standard form. You're going to start off in slope-intercept form. So let's start off in slope-intercept form. So that'd be y equals 2x minus 2. We've talked about how to do this in a previous lesson. Give me just a second. Okay, and then there we go. Now we can see it. All right, so it's going to be y equals 2x minus 2. Now to put it in standard form, notice that in standard form, the x and the y are on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to move that x to the other side of the equation. So I would subtract 2x on both sides. So that's the same as y minus 2x equals -2. The x has to come first, so that's going to be -2x plus y equals -2. All right, so get rid of fractions when you're trying to go in standard form, and we don't have any fractions, so that's good. The only other problem is that the coefficient of x cannot be negative. In this case, that coefficient is -2. It does not matter that this number is negative. It also doesn't matter if the coefficient of y is negative. Only the coefficient of x. So I need to make that not be a -2. And the easiest way to do that is to multiply it by -1. But if I multiply one term in this equation by -1, I'm going to have to do it to all the terms. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation by -1, which really just changes the sign of everything. So it's going to be 2x minus y equals 2. So I'm going to write that down on my page. 2x minus y equals 2. And then I'm going to go to the next problem. Okay, so for 23, we see our slope is 1/2 and our y-intercept is -3. And do you see how I'm writing the given information down first? Even if you're doing this on notebook paper, you need to be doing that as well. All right, so we're going to start off, since we're given a slope and a y-intercept, we're going to start off in slope-intercept form. So y equals 1/2 x minus 3. You want the x and the y on the same side, so you'd subtract 1/2 x on both sides. Okay, now we'll do that flip-flop with my x and y. Okay, now you can't have any fractions, and I also know that the coefficient of x is negative. Well, in order for me to get rid of the fraction, if I multiply 1/2 by 2, that would give me a +1. So that would eliminate that. If I multiply it by -2, though, it also will change it to a positive. So we're going to multiply everything through by -2. So -2 times -1/2 x is +1x, which is just x. -2 times y is -2y, so I'm writing -2y. And -2 times -3 is +6. So we end up with x minus 2y equals 6. So let's write that down. And we'll try 24. 24, our slope is 2/3 and our y-intercept is -1. Slope is 2/3, y-intercept -1. Okay, and that's number 24. Okay, again, since anytime you're given the slope and the y-intercept, regardless of what form you're being asked to write the equation in, it's best to start in slope-intercept form here because that's easiest. All right, now we'll convert it to standard form. So I'm going to subtract 2/3 x on both sides. And instead of me having to do that flip-flop, that's going to be the same as -2/3 x plus y. I can just go ahead and do that step there. And that would be equal to -1. All right, now I am not allowed to have fractions, so I'm going to, and to get rid of a fraction, the quickest way is to multiply by the denominator. And I'm not allowed to have negative as a negative coefficient of x, that is. So if I just multiply everything through by negative 3, that's going to take care of everything for me. Negative 3 times negative 2/3 x would be positive 2x. Negative 3 times y is negative 3y, so I wrote minus 3y. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. So I end up with 2x minus 3y equals 3. Okay, let's do 25, and then you can try the remaining problems on your own. So for 25, my slope is 3/2, my y-intercept is 5/2. So my slope is 3/2, and my y-intercept was 5/2. It's 25. Okay, step 1, put it in slope-intercept form. So y equals 3/2 x plus 5/2. Step 2, since you're going to standard, remember, the x and y need to be on the same side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 3/2 x on both sides, which is the same as 3/2 x plus y equals 5/2. Okay, now you got to get rid of your fractions. Now you have two fractions here. Both fractions have that same denominator of 2. So when I multiply everything through by 2, that's going to take care of both fractions, which is great. But I also see here that my coefficient of x was negative, so I'm going to have to multiply not by 2, but negative 2. So negative 2 times the negative 3/2 x is going to be positive 3x. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y, so minus 2y. And negative 2 times 5/2 is going to be negative 5. So we end up with 3x minus 2y equals negative 5. 3x minus 2y. Equals negative 5. Okay, now it's your turn. So you're going to do the remaining problems. So that's going to be problems 26 through 34. So pause the video and complete those problems now. Make sure you're showing your work. Good luck. Okay, now that you guys have had an opportunity to do problems 26 through 34, we need to check over your answers. So you can see my final answers right here on this screen, and that's fine. You can check your final answers, but you also need to check over your work, and you must have work for all of these problems. So I'm going to scroll over to, there we go, you can see 26 through 32, and you should probably pause the video now so that you can get all of that work down. Okay, and then here's 33 and 34. Again, it is extremely important that if you do not understand something, you need to make a note so that you can ask me about it later. But you should be looking at the different steps that I have done, not just looking at the answer. Look at the individual steps and compare them to what you've done to see what mistakes you've made, if any at all. Good luck.